Your right to vote is going to the Supreme Court. H.R. 1 can help. Check this out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. There are a couple of cases making their way to the Supreme Court. I think this really amplifies the need for H.R. 1, the For the People Act, which I'm getting almost daily hysterical emails from FreedomWorks and other right-wing groups saying, oh my God, it's the Gag Act. They're trying to gag the billionaires. They're going to force right-wing groups to disclose who their donors are, and then they're going to be subject to harassment from Antifa liberals and black people coming to their houses and stuff. I mean, they're just hysterical, right? And which tells me that this is really important legislation. But meanwhile, you've got these two cases, Brnovich versus DNC and Arizona Republican Party versus DNC, that are going to the Supreme Court. And and if the Supreme Court takes these cases, the Supreme Court heard I don't know if they heard opening arguments or if they heard the pre-arguments yesterday, but these cases were introduced at the court yesterday. And this could be the tool that John Roberts and the conservatives on the court used to further gut the Voting Rights Act. You'll recall back in 2013 in the Shelby County case, the Supreme Court, the opinion written by John Roberts, former lawyer for the Reagan Justice Department, the Supreme Court said, well, we've got a black president, so obviously there's no more racism in America, so we no longer need to have this pre-clearance provision where if Georgia or Florida or Alabama or Mississippi wants to change their voting situations, rules and things to make it harder for people to vote, if they want to cut in half the number of polling places, for example, in black neighborhoods, they first have to get permission from the Justice Department. John Roberts and the Supreme Court blew that up in 2013 with the Shelby County decision, and literally within a week, a dozen states had made it harder to vote for people in big cities and in African-American communities, literally within a week. And now we've got two more cases that could make it even easier for states to make it even harder for people to vote. And it looks to me like the only way to stop this cavalcade of voter suppression that began with the Shelby County case and this enthusiastic, it's really bizarre, this enthusiastic decision by John Roberts and all the conservatives on the court. By the way, all the liberals, this is a 5-4 decision. All the liberals said, what, are you crazy? I mean, the Voting Rights Act was renewed unanimously in the United States Senate. And still, John Roberts said, well, those people, they voted for it because they didn't want to be accused of being racists. Honest to God. I mean, this was his rationale. And but the fact of the matter is that there are still racists in the United States, a lot of them, and they run the Republican Party. And particularly in the former Confederate states, they very much run the Republican Party, and they want to do everything they can to make sure that black people can't vote, and increasingly that Hispanics and certainly for centuries that Native American people can't vote. And in some cases, they even want to make it harder for women to vote, and certainly for students to vote. I mean, Texas and Wisconsin are right at the forefront of oh, no, you can't use student ID from a state university. Even though the state university verifies your citizenship, you can't use that ID. Well, yeah, it is government issued technically, but no, you can't use that. But you can use your gun license. No problem. I mean, this is where we're at right now. The Republicans have decided, as Congressman Pocan said in the last hour, that the only way that they can win elections consistently is to cheat, is to choose their voters. I mean, they do this with gerrymandering, but now with this, all these voter suppression efforts, and now it's going to the Supreme Court. So how do we stop this? The For the People Act, H.R. 1, is going to be dropped in the House this week in all probability, probably tomorrow or Friday. At the very latest, it'll be early next week. And a similar piece of legislation, SB 1, Senate Bill 1, will be dropped in the Senate. And when those pieces of legislation hit, there's going to be an immediate partisan divide. You're going to see all the Republicans opposed to them because, as I said, the Republican strategy now is not we're going to win with ideas. we're going to win by doing things for the American people. No, 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 no. The Republican strategy is we're going to win by making it hard for people who don't like us to vote. And the Democratic strategy is, you know, as it has been since the 1930s, what can we do for the American people today? The Republicans sit around and go, well, that's just bribery. You're just buying votes by giving people Social Security, and you're buying votes by giving people Medicare. And that's just not right. You shouldn't be able to do that. You shouldn't be able to buy votes by giving people long-term unemployment benefits. And the Democrats are like, you know, we're not buying votes. We're doing our job. In a democracy, the job of legislators is to do what the people want done. So anyhow, keep an eye on these two cases that are going to the Supreme Court, Arizona Republican Party versus DNC and Brnovich versus DNC. And keep your eye on H.R. 1. This is going to be as Joe Biden would say, a BFD. And it's going to be all hands on deck, particularly since the Republicans will definitely try to use the filibuster to block any sort of reform of voting in the United States, because they want to make sure that it's harder and harder and harder every day, every year for people of color to vote in this country.